We're ready to go.
Yes, okay. Do we need any special introduction? Correct? But this is just a regular meeting with some people being virtual, right?
I think maybe if we have any public participants, yeah, we do have somebody. Let me just do very quickly. So welcome. The meeting is being held in a hybrid format. We have some board members here in Santa Margarita community room. We have some staff members here, and we have board and staff and public also joining us remotely. So the board chair, Chris Perry, will moderate the pace of tonight's meeting. All votes will be done via roll call, and there will be opportunities for public to comment throughout the meeting. If you are joining us via Zoom webinar, use the raise your hand feature. If you're calling in via phone, *9 puts you in the queue. And over to you, Chair Perry.
Okay, thank you very much, Correct. Welcome to the January 27th, 2022 Santa Margarita Groundwater Agency Board Meeting. Can I get a roll call, please?
Certainly. Director Ankrum.
Here.
Director Koenig.
Here.
Director McPherson.
Here.
Director Cassidy.
Here.
Director Koopman.
Here.
Director Pollock.
Here.
Director Dillis.
Here.
Director Ackerman.
Here.
Director Mayhood. Here. Director Stiles. Director Stiles, are you with us remotely? We'll come back to Director Stiles, but Chair Perry.
I am here.
And let's do alternates really quick. Alternate Director Baskin. Alternate Director Brown. Alternate Director Hutchison. Alternate Director Hayes. Alternate Director Lind. Alternate Director Smalley. And alternate Director Eckwell.
Present.
So Bill Eckwell might be, if Director Stiles has not joined us yet, actually, because you are here and present in the room, you will be acting as a voting member until Director Stiles joins us.
Ruth is in the participants queue, correct?
So let's move her over. Panelist, let's see if that works. Good.
Can you upgrade her? Give her a
I did.
move her to
Stop.
first class?
Director Stiles, can you hear me? Okay, let me see, where did she go? Use her?
She might be using the link from the agenda, which is,
Yeah, let me try one more time to get promote. Director Stiles, there should be something on your screen that you have to accept to move over to panelist group. Yep, I see you now. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Hey, great. So
gonna-
Director Stiles. Are you
okay,
present?
great.
I'm present and I'll
Okay,
connect
got it,
separately.
got it.
Okay,
Alternate Director Eckwell is non-voting participant.
okay, thank you very much. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
There's none from staff.
Okay. Now we have a chance for oral communications for matters that are not on this agenda. So if there's anyone that would like to speak for a few minutes on an item that we will not be covering tonight. Anyone from the public have a chance to chime in?
No hands from remote participants, and I see no hands in the room either.
Okay. All right, then I assume there are none. So I would like to acknowledge the appointment of Jamie Ackerman. Welcome, Jamie, to our board. And Mark, who has been a fabulous board member, is now going to be your backup, which is great. So welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to
Okay.
be here. Mhm.
Great. Well, good to have you. So the consent agenda, approval of the minutes and Brown Act requirement for remote meetings. Do I hear a motion?
Can I just ask one question? Is there, with our Brown Act requirements, do we always have to have it here because of what we have done, or could we do it all remotely?
If you approve this, that is item 2.2,
Yeah.
we can go back to remote.
We can go back to remote. That's okay. Yeah, well,
I move the consent agenda.
second.
Okay. Can I get I heard a second. Who was the second? I heard-
Director McPherson.
Okay, and Eden was the
Yep.
motion.
Yep.
All right, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Absolutely. Director Anker,
Aye.
Koenig,
Aye.
McPherson,
Aye.
Cassidy,
Aye.
Hoopman,
Aye.
Pollock,
Aye.
Dillis,
Aye.
Ackerman,
Yes.
Mayhood,
Aye.
Stiles,
Aye.
and Perry.
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
Okay, great. In the general, we have the annual financial report for the year ending June 30th, 2021 and 2020. Does anyone have any questions?
Just generally, you could if somebody could just give us an overview, a brief overview of where we are and if we're on target with where we want to be. Sure. Yeah.
Thank you, buddy. So we have Scotts Valley Finance Manager, Nick Kearns, who is Santa Margarita Treasurer in the room. You won't be able to see him on the camera because he's too close to the camera, but he's here, you'll hear him.
Yeah, well, good evening, everyone. I know there's another item later on the quarterly report for the current fiscal year, but I'll touch on sort of where we are in the current fiscal year. The report in the packet outlines, so we've through 2 quarters, we're presenting now sort of July 1st through the end of December. I think often in the past we've been presenting quarter by quarter, but this is cumulative. Net income for that period, that 6-month period is
I think it's a different one. It's the annual financial report.
which I didn't print and have in front of me. I apologize.
Okay, that's okay.
No, it's actually here. So it's not quite fair to actually ask Nick questions about that because he was not the treasurer for those 2 years. But I'm sure you can.
Yeah.
You can do pretty.
Yeah, I did work
job
with,
this.
we worked with the auditor, Fedak and Brown. They performed the audit this fall. I'll just, if there's any questions on the report, I'm happy to answer them.
I don't have any question. I just didn't know if anybody else did. Because this is a multi-agency board, so I just didn't know if anybody had any questions about where we were. If not, I'm fine with how it's presented.
Is there anything that stood out to you, maybe, or was pretty much the?
Just interested in sort of where the district was or where the agency was in terms of how much of the grant we're working towards, working through that, and we're still working with the Regional Water Management Foundation on invoicing for that, but there was nothing outstanding or no items or findings in the report from the auditor's standpoint, and there's nothing that stood out to me either.
Yeah, that's what I saw. I just wanted to see if there's any questions.
Yeah, there.
Okay, great. If no one has any particular questions, it's all pretty straightforward. We are going to, I guess we just accept it. So do we?
Chair Perry, we do have 5 members as public members online joining us, so we do need to make sure we get.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yes. When I said anyone, I meant them too.
Okay. So public, if you have any questions or comments on item 3.1, please either raise your hand or if you're calling in, *9. I see no hands and no hands in the room either.
Okay.
If that's the case, can I move to accept the Santa Margarita Groundwater Annual Financial Report for the fiscal years ended June 30th, 2021 and 2020?
You may.
Second?
Second, Stillis?
We have 2. We have McPherson in the room and Dillis remotely. Right.
Call time. All right. So can I get a roll call vote?
Director Engford,
Aye.
Koenig,
Aye.
McPherson,
Aye.
Cassidy,
Aye.
Bootman,
Aye.
Pollock,
Aye.
Dillis,
Aye.
Ackerman,
Yes.
Mayhood, Stiles,
Aye.
and Perry.
Aye.
Passes
Okay.
unanimously.
Great. Thank you. Now we have 3.2, which is kind of one of the main reasons we called this meeting. So we put together, as you know, a subcommittee. It's an ad hoc subcommittee, I should say. And we've had 2 meetings, and we thought it was sooner rather than later time to update the board on what's going on. And most importantly, because we found out about the time sensitivity of some really amazing grant funding, now time is of the essence for this committee to do the first part of its work. And the staff will give a report on what that work is, but also we wanted to be transparent about what we did and what we didn't talk about. So I'm going to give either Sierra or Pierrette the floor to do a staff report on what we've discussed regarding our collaborative approach to administrative and planning services.
Thank you. I will kick it off, and Sarah, then I'll pass it on to you. So there is the 2 big buckets, the expense side and what needs to get done, and then who is going to pay for that in the future. From staff perspective, it was more important to start with looking at the activities and expenses associated with that for a couple of reasons. Chair Perry mentioned the grant opportunity that we have learned about that was also in your packet. And then the timing of when this agency needs to approve its budget, along with that, the collaborative staffing model that we have been following for the last 4 years. The staff bandwidth at all of the member agencies is really strained, and we don't foresee that we can continue with that past July when the new fiscal year starts. So we really wanted the committee to focus on how we're going to tackle the work that needs to be done. It was kind of staff driven a little bit. Let's talk about this first. And then Sarah, because she also sits as a staff member on Mid-County Groundwater Agency's executive team, she brought to us that there's a similar effort happening and similar challenges at that agency. So it would be a good maybe time to look at joining forces or see if there's enough synergy to move those two agencies collaboratively under one contract possibly. So Sarah, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. So we did mention this at the previous meetings that there was this opportunity to take advantage of an economy of scale by partnering with the Mid-County Groundwater Agency on their efforts to do this exact same process. They are also facing this issue of staff capacity really running kind of thin at this point, and the necessity of getting the administrative and the planning side of that agency figured out as well. So at the most recent Mid-County Groundwater Agency board meeting, we asked if there was interest in doing a similar committee, and they said there is some interest in doing this process. The board is very supportive of the idea of doing this joint contract. It makes a lot of sense for a lot of reasons. They didn't see the need to have a similar committee. They've just told staff to move forward with the proposals we see best. So I brought that to the subcommittee at our last meeting earlier this month, and we've decided to move forward with a joint RFP with the Santa Cruz Mid-County Groundwater Agency for these planning and administrative services. The subcommittee is right now seeing a draft that's being circulated. And the reason why we're moving quickly is because this is going to be run through the county. The idea would be that as a member of both agencies, and because we've already kind of set the precedent for this with the data management system contract, that it made the most sense for us to be the administrator of the contract, and therefore the RFP process, which would be run through the County of Santa Cruz. Given it takes a little time to get things to the board at the county, we had to sort of accelerate the process. So we've kind of drafted the RFP and are circulating it. And now we're coming to you, asking basically for your approval for the RFP or for the committee to continue with this process, and give them sort of the authorization to move forward with the development of the RFP, soliciting submittals, screening of candidates, and working on the contracting, which would be done. Basically, the approval to this would come back to this board in the form of approving a revenue agreement with the county for the portion of the work that would be for this groundwater agency.
We would get a chance to see the scope of service and the budget, right?
Absolutely, yes. That would all be included in the, we could actually bring it back once we have, we could bring it back to this committee as soon as we've selected a consultant and completed negotiations with them. And then it would also, approval would be through the form of the revenue agreement, which would include the full scope of services and the budget as well. So there'd be lots of opportunity to do this. And I should also mention that this is not this kind of using a third party for some administrative support. There's nothing new about this. We've been doing this partnering with the Regional Water Management Foundation in this basin on our grant administration for several years now. And the Mid-County Groundwater Agency uses them for grant administration, but also agency administration at the moment as well. So there's nothing new about this model. So I guess I'd like to turn it over to the members of the committee and see if there's more they would like to say. I do also have the time frame for the RFP that I can pull up if anybody wants to see that as well.
Could you put that up? I think that might be helpful, Sierra.
Yeah, I was going to ask if Gail or Doug had anything they wanted to add.
Yeah, I'll weigh in. Having served on the board's selection committee for our technical consultant back in the day, I would just note that this delegation of this responsibility to this ad hoc committee is relatively consistent with how that process worked. And I would expect that we'd bring back recommendations to the board for review and approval, along the lines of what Sierra talked about. So there is precedent for this, and it is a tight timeline. We've already met a couple of times as a committee, and we have a number of additional meetings that'll come in the near future, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Gail, anything to?
Yeah, I guess I feel a little bit obligated to say why I seem to have done kind of a 180 since I was the one that was complaining about administrative costs all through previous times. And I think, so I just want to explain what in my mind is driving this. First is what Perrette said, is that we need to deal with the administrative costs. And I've been really arguing that we try to keep this lean and mean for a year or two, because I figured we'd just be kind of cruising along, thinking about what projects we were going to do. But basically, we have to have a proposal started by November, December. of this year for something on the order of $7 million, which I think we have a very good chance of getting. And so that really changed my view of this and made me feel like we really needed to step up. And one of the aspects of maybe Perrette and Sierra could comment a little bit more about how the advantages of going to a group like this is that they can have several people working on this at different levels. So people that just do the administrative stuff, people, and one that I think is really important is having somebody at a planner level that can help us with scoping out some of our PMAs and getting things ready to write proposals. And this is really in addition to, I think, an increment over what we kind of were thinking we might need for the first year. And so I just felt like I needed to explain why I changed my mind.
Yeah, understood.
And I'd like to say, I saw that conversion firsthand. It was quite dramatic. You've been there.
Sarah, do you want to take it? Kind of maybe demystify a little bit, or we have Director Koopman has a hand up, but then maybe turn it over to you, Sarah, again.
What's the $7 million thing about? What's that about?
The Department of Water Resources has a very large budget of money that they have allocated for groundwater management projects and programs. There's round one, which is actually open for solicitation right now, is only open to the critically overdrafted basins, but round two, they're anticipating will be open sometime in, I think, late fall, the time frame that Gail was talking about. And it really is a pretty sure thing that groundwater agencies will be able to have access to this funding. I think we'll have, as Gail said, a very good chance of getting some money. I think the real difference is how much are we going to be able to get, and how are we going to be able to staff up and manage it. And I think the addition of a planner is potentially the difference of being able to get a modest amount of money to a quite large amount of money. That's the way I'm seeing this.
What are the projects that you're considering?
These would be all projects that are outlined in the GSP, and this is why we need a planner to help us scope out what would be the best approach. Implementation is probably far off on a lot of these, but there's good potential for feasibility and potentially piloting of some of the projects and management actions that are outlined in the GSP already. They have to be in the GSP in order to be eligible for funding.
I see Jack has had his hand up, and then Gail, I see yours is up. Jack?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, this sounds like it's smart and it's great that money's available. I just have a question trying to understand the administrative component. And I know there's one, but the planning sort of makes sense. But is it just sort of managing the process? The planners would do the work, kind of come up with spec stuff out and come out with details. And the administrative component, that wouldn't be taking over for what currently is happening administratively with the JPA. Is it? It would be managing all these projects. Is that what the administrative component is about? If you could just add some.
Sorry, we should clarify that. No, it would be taking over the administrative role that currently Scotts Valley Water District has been providing. So everything from planning the board meetings, doing the minutes, doing the scheduling, helping with getting the budgets laid out, helping with keeping administrative timelines on track, board.
We have some outreach written into that they would facilitate.
Board member outreach. Basically, everything related to running this agency aside from the board oversight. And obviously the executive staff are still going to be here as participants, but we will Brett's no longer going to have to do meeting minutes on top of her other responsibilities.
Okay, and what about things like, paying bills and having a treasurer? Would those fall under the new administration as well?
I think the treasurer will probably stay with Scotts Valley Water District for that's the model that we've been doing in Mid-County. The treasurer is still with one of the member agencies, but the administrative side of reviewing invoices, managing invoices, tracking all of that, that's all done by the contracted administrators, and then it's really just the final approval and signing of checks and things that is done by the treasurers.
Okay, so there'd be JPA overview, I guess, of what's happening, and yet the actual work. Okay, great if we can get this paid for, as I guess we have really been having it paid for to some extent by the grants, but great that we'll be applying for that as well. Thank you.
Okay, now Gail had her hand up and Doug did, but he put it back down. So I'm going to go with Gail first.
Thanks, Chris. I just wanted to follow up on Jeff's question. And the decisions about what projects are going to be done is our decision here. It's not being farmed out to a planner. Okay. The beauty of this grant, if we get it, is that it also pays for the planning part of things, for doing test runs or feasibility studies. And so it helps you do those parts that otherwise I think we were going to find very hard to pay for. And then it sort of sets you up to the point that you have enough information and backup that you can actually hopefully apply successfully for other grants. But I just want to emphasize that these people will not be ones that are, making those decisions, because really that's a policy decision. We started with the PMAs that we have in the GSP, but obviously, those may change, and what we prioritize might change as things evolve. And so I just want to emphasize that the whole board is going to be involved in that. This is not something we're going to push off to some plan or something.
Yes, thank you for clarifying that. The staff and the board are still leading in many ways all aspects of decision making about these projects and management actions.
Doug, now you have your hand back up.
Yeah, I couldn't help myself. I'm serving as a substitute board member on the Mid-County Ad Hoc Committee for their grant submission for the Ground One funding that Sierra spoke to, and Gail and Sierra have been speaking about. And I guess what I wanted to share is that we're learning as we go. The state is kind of learning as they go about exactly what's going to be eligible and what isn't. But right now it looks, real good that other than purely administrative costs can go into these kind of grants. The Round One grant is less competitive than the Round Two grant, we've heard. We'll be lumped in with a bunch more basins that'll be going after that particular pot of money. But the process itself is very board and staff, participating agency staff driven and facilitated by Tim at RWMF. So we're seeing that model work well as well, which might give some other board members here some comfort that this can actually work pretty effectively and transparently.
Okay, thank you, Doug. Anyone else have any input? Any members of the public have any input to what they've heard or read in the packet?
Looking for hands, or here in the room, we have no hands up, and I have no hands remotely either.
Okay. Then we really don't have oh, here we are. Hi, everybody.
I don't know what happened. I touched something that I shouldn't have, so let me try to bring it back.
That's awesome. I like that better.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm working on it. Sorry about that. I have two keyboards here going on, so I probably pushed something.
So I think what
I know what happened. Sarah, you closed yours.
Yeah, I stopped sharing my screen. I was showing the timeline to emphasize that to get things through the County Board of Supervisors, it just takes that it'll go to the county board in March, and then we'll get advertised immediately afterwards, and then selection would be in April, and negotiations in April, May, final contract hopefully figured out in May, executed and starting July 1 is our plan.
Okay,
So most likely April would be the month that we can bring back to this board scope of work and budget from the winning candidate, we're hoping.
Are we meeting in April or May? Is April is possible if things go smoothly. We might be able to bring something in April.
okay, great. Well, so I'm gonna assume, or should we do a reverse? I'm gonna ask a reverse. This isn't a vote necessarily, but I would love a sense of the board. Does anyone have an issue with what we're doing? Think we're making a mistake, etc.?
I think we should have a motion to authorize the committee. So just what's up there, that I move that we authorize the ad hoc committee to move forward with developing a request for proposals, soliciting submittals, screening the potential candidates, and presenting to the board the necessary documents for contract approval for administrative and planning services.
Can we do that? Because the item on the agenda just says we're going to receive information, because it does says authorized. So, okay.
It says recommendation.
It's on there, yep.
Just read it.
Yeah, okay,
All right, I'll second that.
okay.
That's from Director Pollock, is the second.
Yes.
You ready for roll call?
Yes, roll call vote.
Or maybe ask if there's any comments. Nope, no hands up. So we'll go Director Anchor,
Aye.
Kearney,
Aye.
McPherson,
Aye.
Cassidy,
Aye.
Koopman,
Aye.
Pollock,
Aye.
Dillis,
Aye.
Ackerman,
Yes.
Mayhood,
Aye.
Stiles,
Aye.
and Perry.
Aye,
11 yeses.
okay. Excellent. Well done. Okay, now we get to election administrative section. We're gonna elect new officers to the board. So we'll go with chair first. Do I have any nominations for chair?
I nominate Gail Mahood.
Okay.
I would second that nomination. This is
Okay.
Jamie Ackman.
Okay, Jamie, thank you. So I think we go ahead and vote on that, and then, or do we get anyone else has another nomination? We do that after, right? If we don't get a majority.
Do we have legal counsel? Terry, could we do it as a slate if we get nominate or all three nominations in? Can we do it as a slate, or would you prefer that we go one by one?
I prefer one by one because then we can make sure that there's no other nominations for each party who's being voted on.
Okay,
Got it. So we're ready for that?
yes,
Okay. So this is for board chair, Gail Mayhood. Director Anchor,
Aye.
Koenig,
Aye.
McPherson,
Aye.
Cassidy,
Aye.
Koopman,
Aye.
Pollock,
Aye.
Dillis,
Aye.
Ackerman,
Yes.
Mayhood,
Aye.
Stiles,
Yep.
Terry,
hi.
unanimous.
Okay.
Congratulations.
All right, way to go, Gail. Okay, do we have any nominations for vice chair?
Yes, I would like to nominate Chris Perry as the vice chair.
If you want me, okay.
I do. You've got experience and you make a good sidekick.
Thank you, Gail. Do
I'll
I have a
second that.
Okay, Ruth, you seconded. All right, can I get a roll call vote?
Here we go. It's for vice chair, and we have Director Anchor,
Aye.
Koenig,
Aye.
McPherson,
Aye.
Cassidy,
Aye.
Koopman,
Aye.
Pollock,
Aye.
Dillis,
Aye.
Ackerman,
Yes.
Mayhood,
Aye.
Stiles,
Aye.
Terry.
I guess I'll vote for myself. Aye.
Another unanimous vote.
Okay.
That's chair and vice chair.
Okay, well done. Check that box. So let's just keep plowing along.
Secretary too.
Oh, right, secretary too. Can I get a nomination for secretary?
I'd like to nominate Jack Dillis.
I would second that.
Okay. We had first and second. Second was Director Cassidy.
Okay, and roll call vote?
This is for secretary. Director Ankrum,
Aye.
Koenig,
Aye.
McPherson,
Aye.
Cassidy,
Aye.
Koopman,
Aye.
Pollock,
Aye.
Dillis,
Aye, very simple to do. Thank you.
Yes.
Mayhood,
Aye.
Stiles,
Aye.
Terry.
Aye,
We're getting good at that.
I know, I'm banging right through it. Okay, that's great. Congratulations, everybody. At the next meeting, the new board or officers will take over. So right now, though, let's take care of the 2022 Board of Directors meeting schedule. What we're doing is we don't know if we're going to need every meeting, but we figure it's easier to cancel a meeting than it is to call a meeting. So we're keeping our meeting schedule the same as it was the last year, but we're just going to cancel meetings that are not necessary to have. So you can see that on 4.2 and 1. And 4.3, we did a letter of support for a grant that came up. And I know that, oh, so I'm sorry, Ruth, did you have on that last point, did you have something to say?
Yeah, now that we're not anticipating 4-hour meetings, I'd like to suggest a start time 6 or 6:30, so there's a little bit of breathing room between work and work.
I think the question is whether, I would like that, but some staff maybe are staying after work and I expect them to hang around for a couple of hours. Is that a burden?
I'm okay anytime.
Okay.
Doesn't make a.
And since we're remote, it's not as big a deal, right, as it might be if we all had to meet in one room.
Right, but that might not be forever. And I mean, we could play it by ear. We could, I don't know if we have to, we could decide that in a meeting. If we have a meeting that's going to have a load of material, I think if we know we're going to have something easy, I mean, that can be flexible, if I'm not mistaken.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Should we at least choose for February or for next one, or who is going to make the decision, or how do we know? What's the process?
I think it would probably be the the officers, because we'll know in the agenda review or prior to the agenda, do early enough agenda review, what kind of agenda. I would think the chair would make the, primary call.
We have Gail Mayhood has a hand up.
Yeah, I just think we ought to set the default time though, and set that now so that everybody can block it out. My goal would be that we would never, ever again have these 3 and 4 hour meetings, right? And that's scheduling them every month is.
I'm with you on that.
It would be better if we had, hour and a half, 2-hour meetings more
Yeah.
frequently.
I agree.
So that's what I'd recommend. Let's try 6:30.
6 o'clock, I would say.
6 would be,
Let's try
yeah.
6.
Okay. And
Director Stiles says 10, or maybe
Aye.
I'll do 10.
I'm done.
Okay.
6 o'clock sounded good to me.
Okay. All right.
So 6 o'clock is a unanimous, there's no objection.
Okay, I know that letter of support that had to get put out. I think, Gail, did you want to say something about that?
yeah, I want to apologize to the board for signing it. When I was asked to sign it, I had some serious reservations because I felt like the board hasn't looked at this. And I didn't feel like I should be signing something that they didn't see. Also, the way it was originally written, I thought, oh my God, if the people of San Lorenzo Valley saw this, they would be irate and I'd be hanged in effigy because they would think that this is a big water steal by Santa Cruz. And so I felt I was concerned on two levels. One has to do with process and the other has to do with the content of this. And at least in our district, and I talked to a district council about this, is that the chair should not be signing letters unless they are something that the whole board has seen and adopted a resolution that they're in favor of, right? I mean, I think the reasons are obvious. It's pretty self-evident why you don't want the president or vice president to go off and be able to sign things unless the whole board has seen them. And so I think I should have resisted the pressure to do it and just said no, that I wouldn't. The other part is I'm concerned in that this was something that we haven't seen. It's not something I knew about. When I asked Rick, our district manager, he didn't know about it. I am worried that this is basically a situation where in the past, I think in 2017, 2018, the discussions of interties between the 5 or 6 entities were all, I think we all think interties are a great idea for emergency purposes, but when this intertie is not for emergency purposes. And so what that means is that potentially there could be water going from Scotts Valley to Santa Cruz. And that's a pretty big difference, that it doesn't have to be in an emergency setting. And I think that's a huge change in scope from what was discussed years ago well before I was involved. And I suspect there's other board members that weren't aware of this either. And so I think it should be discussed and everybody should be brought up to speed on it.
Anyone, staff want to say
It
anything?
doesn't have to be now.
Yeah, I certainly, that's not on the agenda, but
We can't really.
Terry, what?
I'm happy to share some maybe information that helps to understand both the process and the project. So this agency has limited number of policies, and in its bylaws, it's written that if the agency does not have a specific policy, then that business agents' policies and guidelines are being used. So in Scotts Valley Water District, such support letters are signed by the board chair and or the GM. So we actually felt also uncomfortable having just the chair, especially in this case, the chair would be from Scotts Valley Water District and myself is from Scotts Valley Water District, the two of us signing a letter to support Scotts Valley Water District. So for that reason, we decided to expand it to include the representatives of all 3 member agencies. The reason for the rush was that the timeline for the grant, we had to get it in before January 14th, including the support letter. So we had no possibility of bringing it to the full board. We have issued, Santa Margarita Groundwater Agency has issued 2 support letters in the past, and both times it has been done by the board chair and myself. So there's precedence for that. So there was nothing that we went outside of that, how it's been done, the practice in the past. So that's kind of that, the process. And then the grant itself, that also was very fast moving. It came, we learned about it in late last year. On the surface, it seemed like we do not have a good project. They were looking for shovel-ready projects. And until the staff talked about it, and we, once upon a time, about 10 years ago is when the inner ties, the 6 of them, actually 7 of them as an original packet was proposed, and the inner tie with Santa Cruz, between Santa Cruz and Scotts Valley was part of it. It got dropped because the state reduced their funding for that grant. And so unfortunately, we were not able to do all of them. We actually dropped 2. We ended up doing the 4, 3 in the San Lorenzo, connecting their different systems, and 1 between San Lorenzo and Scotts Valley. So that was a project that was shovel ready. It had 30% of design done. It had CEQA document done. So that seemed to be a worthy project, considering for the basin, not only for Scotts Valley and Santa Cruz, but for the basin. Because I do remember that when we talked about different projects, one thing that came up often was what makes it expensive, any of those projects, is we do not have a connection with Santa Cruz. So any conjunctive use projects that we would like to do in the future need that missing link. So that seemed to be advancing many projects without deciding which project for Santa Margarita, it was the missing piece. And so that seemed to be a good project to put in, along with additional new production well for Scotts Valley, because we have that in our CIP already. And this grant, as it's written, is 100% grant funded. So we just could not pass it on off to not submit capital projects towards it that could be potentially 100% funded by the state. So that's kind of where we are. Why emergency or why not emergency? It's not written into that one way or another. It just talks about intertie. And considering that, again, the conjunctive use in the future, and the San Lorenzo is actually currently looking to maybe convert the emergency purpose to a more flexible purpose for the intertie that connects us to allow that. Limiting it to just one purpose, I don't know that it serves us the best. So kind of having a broader goal for this pipeline, I think is more beneficial for all. But it is not specific one way or another in the grant application.
I've got a bunch of people here. What I'm gonna defer to, because that was a very good synopsis, I think. I know, Sierra, do you have something to add to what Perrette was saying?
Not about the project, but about the process.
Okay. Eden, you were next. I want to just keep everything going in the same direction, and then we can branch off. Are you talking about the project or?
No, I mean, I'm just talking about the process of putting together that letter, so.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, jump in. You're a board member,
You want to hear that now?
Sure.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the project, everything that Brett described, it sounds great, but you know, like all of us good little board members, I just finished my AB 1234 biennial update, and the ends and means segment makes me wonder, can we all get some of this blank letterhead? Or I don't know, just it's just not how I would assume the default to go about it is. If there's a rush, like we're all reachable, like, you know, we could weigh in on something, but
I cannot do that. I cannot reach out to the group of 4 that is more than quorum, unfortunately.
yeah.
So what we can do, Eden, I hear what you're saying, and I hear what Gail is saying, and we can, as a board, develop our own policy as opposed to using the default policy that we use because we don't have one. So if we want to, going forward at the next meeting, establish a policy, or Gail, when you're chair, you can instruct staff, or I can instruct staff to give us a pilot policy that we could use, or we could default to, sounds like San Lorenzo Valley has a policy that they use. Maybe we could talk about that. and implement our own policies so this doesn't happen again.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea to have something that we can rely on as such things come up in the future.
Okay. So I did see, so is that, Sierra, do you want to?
Basically, I was going to advocate that something that you ask us to do just what you just asked us. We did. It's important to have the flexibility to be able to sign letters during times when there are not board meetings, if this board ever wants to not meet monthly, because these grant applications are often going to require a letter of support from the groundwater agencies moving forward, and are going to have tight turnaround times. They often are really, the money gets allocated and they want it spent as fast as possible. So, it's not, it's something that we really need to put a lot of thought into, a way to be able to function as a groundwater agency that is a partner and a benefit in getting projects done, and not a hindrance by not being able to get letters signed when necessary. So I think we'll come back to you with something.
Okay, we can have a vibrant discussion about that when it's on the agenda as something, an action we'll take. Is that okay, Gail? Can we debate it in the future?
I just strongly dispute the idea that there isn't time to discuss things. And, it may be that the timing of the signing happens at some other point but the idea that we would write letters endorsing a project that has not been brought to the full board seems like it just is crazy to me, and I won't do it. As your board chair, I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to let it happen. So that's
okay. Well, we'll talk about it as a board and vote on it, and I'm sure we can come up with something. So let's move on, unless there was one other hand up. Who was that? So
I think Rosemary had a hand up at some point.
But
I put my hand down.
okay, done. Okay. So where does that put us on the agenda? My thing just shut down.
Thinking item 5.
Okay, staff reports.
Now we have financial reports that the treasurer Curtis was so eager to elaborate on. So if you.
Sure. Yeah, no, good evening, everyone. I think I know where I am now. Just a quick follow-up to my comment. This made a slight change to the way the quarterly financial reports are done. Instead of presenting quarter by quarter, presenting cumulative totals for the fiscal year. So the Q2 report in your packet covers the period July 1st through December 31st, so 6 months of activity. And just really briefly, some of the highlights. Net revenues, $20,319, includes 1 quarter's grant invoicing. With the one invoice now, or work with regional water management, the grant administrator to invoice for Q2, but Q1's grant invoice didn't come in until January, so that's in accounts receivable. But net revenue of $20,319, and then on the balance sheet side, pretty lean accounts payable, nothing significant that all got out just in January. So in terms of highlights, the check registers in the report. If there's any questions on any of it, I'm happy to answer it, but just keep it brief. That concludes my report.
Anyone have any questions, comments?
I'm just, where do you project will be at the end of the fiscal year? I'm just wondering, kind of like, will there be money left over, or?
Yeah, well, good question. From the fund balance, I believe in the budget, there was anticipated for there to be a surplus at the end of the year, and I know that we're tracking under it in terms of expenses. So I don't have the figures in front of me, but I anticipate that as long as we stay under budget on the expense side, that there'll be a positive balance. Sorry, not to be more precise.
The state keeps 10% retention on grant invoices. So that's one piece that comes all the way at the end when we're done with the whole grant, that they reconcile and pay the 10%. So that's pretty significant. And then also it partially is dependent on how quickly some of the activities are moving. So the technical consultant contract, we are almost done with that. I'm expecting just the last invoices to be submitted to us for approval and payment. The big work that makes up a lion's share of the Prop 68 grant, the second round, was 700,000 in monitoring network development. So that's still to happen. We are in a design phase, and the actual construction piece of that is, cast when we can actually find solicit for contractors and do that. So it is a somewhat of a 6 to 9 months later is when we see the grant funds. So it's a little bit of a crystal ball, unfortunately.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. All right. Thank you, Nick. Any individual director reports? Anyone do anything fun you want to tell us about? No? Okay. All right. Information. The Department of Water Resources released a second round of assessments, and we got posted to the portal. So we're in the queue. I think people got their GSPs kicked back to them. So that was interesting to see. But just because you completed a GSP and got it in, doesn't mean they said okie dokie. So I don't think we'll find ourselves in that position, but they're obviously serious about this. Okay. The spring conference is coming up at Aqua in Sacramento. It's going to be virtual also. I think this has come up before that this agency does sponsor board education, and that is a good place to get some great information and learn about water on a lot of levels. So I would recommend it. So our next board of directors meeting is scheduled now for 6 o'clock, we're going to say, correct? February 24th. And we'll see if we need it.
At this point, we're not certain. I don't know that staff has business, but we'll talk to the new chair and vice chair, and we'll let them know.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. I would just like to say it has been an honor to serve as the chair of this agency for seeming chair for life in a while. So it's going to be very nice to hand it over to Gail. And you guys are an amazing group to work with, and it made it a very rewarding experience. So I'd like to
thank you, Mr. Perry, for overseeing this. It was a new ball game, so to speak, and a lot of cooperative effort and a lot of different inputs from everywhere we're coming in. And I really think you handled it just as gracefully, and we were moving on, and we're doing very well. So thank you. With your leadership, we're there.
That's very kind. Thank you very much. So can I get a motion?
Motion to
Last time.
adjourn.
That's it. Eden did it again. I'm going to second that this time, and I'm going to gather it's unanimous, and I want to thank everyone for coming, and you all that braved the room. Well done. Go get some fresh air, and we'll hope to see
My
you.
record is 6:28.
This is shocking.
Hey, right.
No.
This is the new norm.
Unlike any other meeting I've been to with this group.
Gail's leadership.
All right.
Anyway, thank you, everybody. Take care.
Yeah, good night.
See you tomorrow morning.
Much better.
Yes, indeed.
So, Eden, I see you.